Right, it's now time to go to our Spotlight interview, where we're going to be hearing from a holistic life coach on how to stay motivated and stick to those goals for 2026. Now, it's usually around this time of year that people start to give up on their New Year's resolutions. After 2 or 3 weeks, the big plans and goals, often very restrictive, start to get a little bit too much. And people decide to press snooze on that alarm button, skip the gym, pick up that cigarette or chocolate bar. And it begs the question, why? Why do we do this to ourselves? Well, to help us understand the science behind it all and offer us some tips on how we can remain on track to reaching our goals, even when we've really lost motivation, I spoke to a holistic life coach from London, Olivia Vaughan. Now, Olivia, stats are showing that sort of between now and the end of the month, so let's say the next sort of 10 days, is when people start to lose motivation and they sort of give up on all of these New Year's goals that they've set themselves. Can you give us an insight as to why this happens and why is it so difficult to remain kind of motivated in these tasks that you've set yourself for the year?
Yeah, that's right, Tanya. It seems to show that around 88% of New Year's resolutions are already given up by the end of January. So the reason being really from a brain's perspective, obviously there is a cohort of reasons for various circumstances, but from a brain's perspective, the reason that people give up New Year's resolution is that change is really difficult for the brain to adapt to. The brain's primary function is to survive, and in order to survive, it does this through avoiding danger and through efficiency and energy efficiency. So now, when we introduce New Year's resolutions, whether they're habits or routines or new behaviors, that is novelty to the brain. That equals uncertainty. It equals unpredictable behavior. So the brain needs to be essentially, you need to override that system in your brain in order to allow the New Year's resolutions to persist. And this happens essentially in the prefrontal cortex. So this part of the brain, which is decision making and analysis, problem solving, that's where the New Year's resolutions is going to be. It's going to tell you in the morning to wake up a bit earlier, to go to the gym or to take the healthy option in order to have a healthier diet that year. But all of that takes energy, and it takes constant overriding of the habit center in our brain, which is in the basal ganglia, and that is essentially widely automated. So many of our decisions that we make every day, we are unconscious. They're subconscious decisions that we don't know that they're happening. And essentially, it's about overriding that system in your brains.
Yeah, and I think, you've touched on something really important there, which is that it's an everyday thing. We have to get up every day when we're creating these new habits and rewire the way that we think. Try and replace this, I don't want to do it, with, think about the positivity of what's going to happen when you do. Now, if someone is at home right now thinking, I don't want to get out of bed, it's cold, and I don't want to go to the gym, or I just really fancy that cigarette. They're quite common things that people choose to do around this time of year. What's your advice on how we sort of stay on track?
So in order to start that process of overriding your habits and creating new ones, you want to, I would say, certainly to start small, really small changes that you repeat consistently. And that means maybe not an overhaul of your whole lifestyle or work ethic or anything that you're going for. Just start with one small routine behavior change. Because remember that a 1% improvement every single day really compounds by the end of the year into really lasting, sustainable change. I would also say that consistency is key, really, really key. The number one rule of neuroplasticity is that what we focus and repeat on, we get good at. So keep focusing on it, keep putting your energy towards it, and keep repeating it. And your brain will start making into an automated process. I would say also it's important to really understand why you're doing it. And this is really important. This is really about intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. So just overlook the initial goal and really dig into the why. The other way that could be really helpful is just essentially change the environment. So if you're looking to go to the gym, then maybe you sign up to a gym that's really close to your home or close to your workspace, somewhere that, as soon as you finish your day's work, then you walk out the door and you get to the gym. So your cue will be much easier to implement because it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you make a good point. Make life easy for yourself. Don't overcomplicate it when things already feel a bit challenging. I just want to pick up, you mentioned on that sort of making 1% increases or changes every day. What does that look like? I mean, 1% doesn't really seem like that much. What does that translate to in actual action in a day?
Well, so for example, if you're looking to lose or get healthier, then maybe instead of cutting out smoking, cutting down drinking, eating healthier, going to the gym, all of these different things, maybe you just pick one of them to start with. Maybe you just say, okay, this month I'm going to focus on going to the gym 5 times a week or every other day, and then allow yourself to kind of implement that behavior change before moving on to the next one. Because the idea of doing everything that allows you to maybe have a healthier life by the end of the year, it's going to be a huge amount of an overhaul for your brain to take on board.
Yeah, it's too much to take on in sort of one goal. Now, I feel like I'm quite a motivated person, and I think it's partly because of my job and having to work in live TV. And I wonder if many people will be able to relate to this at home. I've really struggled this year. I have still not sat down and written down a list of things that I want to achieve for 2026. And I wonder why, first of all, you think maybe I've not been able to do that, me and many other people. It's not that I don't want to, I just haven't seemed to have the headspace, or I don't know what decisions to make. And second of all, how do you kind of, when you're already not making these decisions, stop then kind of beating yourself up for not doing the thing you want to do? It's almost like it then becomes, a double overload.
Yeah, absolutely. So say your New Year's resolutions is to set your resolutions and you're still at the stage whereby you haven't done that yet. So first of all, I would say that, absolutely don't guilt yourself or shame yourself into it, because that is going to make you less likely to start it, because you never want to enter a new behavior change from a place of guilt or shame or embarrassment. So just be kind to yourself. Maybe now with the knowledge of the neuroscience behind it, you understand that actually it is hard to make space for something new in your life. It is hard to, even something simple can be really difficult to implement. So let's take your New Year's resolutions. You could start yourself with asking yourself, why? Why am I not setting time aside to write my New Year's resolutions? And then you keep asking yourself why. And that will, by digging deeper into the more intrinsic motivation, you will uncover a much more meaningful reason as to why you're struggling with that challenge, or maybe why you're not prioritizing it.
Yeah. Okay, right. I've got to set myself that goal for the end of this week then. I will keep you updated. But, also, how realistic is it, do you think, for people to be setting themselves goals that last a whole year? I mean, that seems quite overwhelming, really. Is it not better to perhaps break that down and say, right, by the end of this week or by the end of this month, this is what I want to do or to achieve? But then if you haven't set that year-long goal, do you lose focus of where you want to go?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. It doesn't have to be a whole year. It certainly doesn't have to start on the 1st of January. It certainly doesn't have to start on the 15th of January. I think, the new year idea is very much of nearly of a marketing tool in order to get people to kind of new year, new me, change. Imagine the amounts of brands that are going to sell you things at that time of the year. So I would definitely remove the focus on a 12 months duration and make it about who is it you're trying to become? What are you trying to really implement? And again, I don't say New Year's resolutions. It's really about habit changes or behavior changes. So become that goal, embody that vision of yourself. So if you wanted to, to stop smoking, for example, instead of, oh, I'm going to stop smoking for the next 12 months, start telling yourself, I'm no longer a smoker. So it doesn't really matter if it's a 12 months period or, hopefully a longer time frame, but you start that process of really embodying that goal that you want to achieve.
Yeah, those
And that
positive.
goes with so many other goals, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I think you touched on it there. That sort of positive affirmation really helps take your mind to the place that it needs to go to. It can be so hard, though. Now, you work as a life coach, and a lot of what you do is rooted in the science behind why we have certain patterns and ways of thinking. And for many people, they need that sort of scientific proof to help them understand and then overcome. But part of your work is also, from looking at your qualifications, is this more holistic approach. But I wondered if you could kind of take me through what holistic means to you and how you would see that or implement that when you're coaching someone.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that holistic to me is looking at everything as the person as a whole. So you're looking at because most people would come to me for a goal-orientated outcome in their work, but you have to look at their personal life, their physical well-being, and routines, and how they look after themselves. You speak to them about how their mindset is over these aspects of their lives, what their values are, what their beliefs are, the things that are holding them back from achieving, in the past at least, the outcomes that they've wanted. So, and the reason I do that, we look at the kind of as you said, the holistic person, is that it really helps you then get to the root cause of why they are unable to proceed in the way that without the help of a coach. And then once you can tackle the root cause, we don't necessarily have to overanalyze it, but then you can rebuild much stronger foundations in order to allow for sustainable, long-lasting change to happen. And I have that strong belief, because I've always, on top of the scientific approach that I take with coaching, I've also spent many years practicing yoga and other modalities. So I do think that in my work, I like to incorporate all of these elements of not only of the mind, the physical being, and essentially the spiritual aspect of any one person.
Yeah, that sort of 360 approach to health and the way that you live your life, really, I can imagine, will help you in achieving those goals. Now, that's exactly what I need your help with, and I think it's quite a nice task as well for anyone at home, is to, if you could just take us through a very small snippet of what it would be like to do a session where someone comes to you with, a goal or something they want to change in their lives.
Okay, so let's concentrate then on this why aspect, because this is something we can do together in this interview. So I would say, okay, Tanya, what is it that you're looking to work on this year?
So I think one of the things I would really like to work on is that ever since moving to Karachi, it's not a walking city. So when I was in London, I used to do between 10, 15, sometimes even 20,000 steps a day without even meaning to. Walking to the tube, out and about, walking to a restaurant. Here, I'm in the car all the time. And sometimes I don't even hit 3,000 steps. So I want to try and find a way to increase the number of steps that I'm doing.
Okay, so your goal for, if I'm hearing you correctly, would be to increase your step count in 2026.
Yeah, one of them, but we'll go with that one.
Right. So, why are you looking to do that?
I think I want to do it because moving my body and getting fresh air and being outside in the sunshine it makes me feel better.
Okay. And so, why does that make you feel better?
Because I think if I'm not doing that, then I'm inside and I'm perhaps spending too much time on a screen or working. And so I think that if I'm doing more activity, I sleep better at night as well.
Okay. So, why is that important to you?
Here. So if I sleep better at night, that means that I feel better in myself, I am more engaging, I perhaps look better on camera, don't need as much makeup in the makeup chair, and I also just have more motivation and energy to do more if I've had a good night's sleep.
Okay. And so, why does that then become something that is important to you?
I guess if I feel like I've achieved all of those things, then I feel more accomplished and I feel like I've had a good day.
Okay. So you see there in it how we've gone from a very kind of, I suppose, superficial or kind of obvious
Yeah.
resolution, which was to just increase your step count, to a much more deep, meaningful resolution, essentially, that really talks to your well-being and talks to your happiness and talks to how it makes you feel. And so now in your situation, if it isn't a possibility to walk as much as you were in London, then you may find other ways other ways to physically move your body, which would come to a similar conclusion. But at least now you've unpinned a really meaningful reason as to why you hold that resolution.
Yeah,
Or
that's
that
so
goal,
useful.
essentially.
Yeah, super useful. And actually, I'd never done a task like this with you before. And even just you asking why, it leads you to kind of an answer that I perhaps didn't really think of. So yeah, it is all rooted in a good night's sleep. Well, thank you so much, Olivia, for sharing all of that. And good luck to everyone out there who is still trying to set their goals. I'll be doing it with you.
It isn't because it is a simple solution that it is an easy task to do.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. There we go. That was Olivia Vaughan there, a holistic life coach from London, offering some interesting insights on why it is that we may struggle with making decisions and sticking to the decisions that we make, and that useful task for you to take away, to think about the why you're choosing to set yourself these new goals. Right, let's pause for a break, but next, news from a group of people who lead with exactly that, discipline and motivation, and are very much sticking to their New Year's resolutions. A group of monks and their dog are walking over 2,000 miles across America for peace, unity, and compassion, and their videos are going viral. Look how beautiful that is. We'll have more on what's trending next.